Hi, I'm Sharon McPhail. I have a website. It's www.sharonmcphail.com, and on that website you can ask questions and we'll respond to you. You can volunteer. You can do things with the campaign. I'm going to answer a few questions that we received on the website recently. One from Amber. Amber wanted to know why I worked with the mayor. You all know that there were some issues around Mayor Kilpatrick and that he did leave office early, so that's no surprise. But the question is, why 3 years ago did I work with him? Well, you know, after the election, the primary election, and the only two people left were Mayor Kilpatrick and his challenger, I decided that he was the best person to support because he was somebody who, it seemed to me, cared about the people who lived here. And frankly, the other guy didn't, in my view. And so I decided that I would help him. We did not have an agreement about whether I would work with him or not, but after he won the election, he did ask me to come in and to work with him. And what I wanted to do was to change things in the city for people who needed our help. I wanted to do different things with public policy. And he committed to me that I would be able to do that and that he would not try to stop it, and that so long as it was legitimate and based on performance, that we would be able to change things for people at workforce development and in human rights, which we did. Workforce development was completely redesigned, and in human rights I wrote the new Executive Order 2007-1, which requires a minimum of 51% of all jobs that come into the city of Detroit to go to Detroit residents. And that was worth, it seems to me, so much. And I find it odd when people think there's a problem with that, because I don't think anybody's raised a problem about Hillary working for Obama, but they did run against each other. I believe that what's important is whether you win an election or not, if you really have something you want to offer to people and the people that in your city really need it, that you stay and you do what you can to help them. You don't pick up and take your marbles and go home. And that's why I decided that the opportunity that was presented to be in the Kilpatrick administration as a general counsel to redesign workforce development, to change what happened in human rights, and to make opportunities available to Detroiters was worth doing, and I'm glad I did it. The next question is from Mike, and he was asking me about the one-night shelter program. Probably some of you remember it, although many people don't even know that it was my program, but I was on the city council, and I remember driving around and seeing people with those signs that said they work for food, and a lot of homeless people with the shopping carts, and it was very distressing to me personally. I had a very difficult time with that. And I also saw that we had 3,500 churches in the city of Detroit, and that during the winter they're heated. They have to be heated or the pipes will burst. And so it occurred to me that if I asked every church to just give one night a year, where they would open the doors and allow people who needed shelter to come in and just sit on a pew, if they could afford to, give them something to eat. And so I started this program called the One Night Shelter. I ran that program for 5 years, and during that entire time there was not one person who died of exposure to the cold on the streets of Detroit. And it was better than I ever thought it would be. The churches would, many of them have barbers or hairdressers there and to do people's hair, and they would have someone there to screen for blood pressure problems, and they would have housing help for people. They would give them new outfits so that they had clean clothing. And of course, the church mothers would always come in and cook meal after meal, a good dinner, breakfast the next day. It was a wonderful program, and it made people who were in that situation where they needed shelter feel like somebody cared about them. And I did that program for 5 years. When I went to the administration and became in charge of workforce development and the other departments that I had, I couldn't do both of those. But as mayor, I will bring that program back, because I think there's also a part of it that is the community coming together around people that need our help. And it's important for the shelter, but it's also important for what it does for those people's sense of spiritual connection to the community. And so yes, I'm going to start that program again, and we're going to have even more churches in it this time. The other two questions I got from Kevin and Adele involve the insurance problem that we have in the city and residency. Let me start with residency because it's the easiest to fix. When I ran for mayor the first time, 15 years ago, and I won the primary for mayor, there was an interview that was held at the Detroit Police Union. And really they only asked us one question. It was me and Dennis Archer. They asked if the state legislature passed a law to take away Detroit's right to demand residency as a condition of employment, will you fight it or will you let it alone? And I said I would absolutely fight it. And I didn't get the endorsement. And as mayor, I will absolutely challenge that law because this city has to have its public safety personnel residing within its borders. It will be a safer place. The research shows that cities are safer when your police and your fire personnel live inside their borders, and we are paying them. They should live here. In terms of the insurance, I did start a program called Operation Insurance Freedom, and I did it this way because one of the things I dislike most about running for office is having to listen to everybody make promises that they never intend to keep. And I know they don't intend to keep them because many of them had the ability to do it in the first place and didn't do it. So I started this program, and the first thing it did was it found lower rates for people right now. I located some companies that you could get a decent rate for your insurance, and I started holding forums around the city where I brought volunteers and we filled out the applications for people. Because a lot of people just are not comfortable filling out applications, and so you're not helping them if you send them an application. You're only helping them if you do it for them. So we did that. The second thing I did was I did the research to determine whether the city could open its own insurance company, and I had a large law firm also do some research for me, and it is clear that we can do that. We can, if we cannot get the insurance rates to come under control and to be more reasonable, then we can open our own insurance fund. New Jersey did it. It's called the NJ Cure. Baltimore looked into it. Detroit can do that. And if we decide to do that, then that's a planning process. It will not happen overnight, but it's certainly something that would happen within my first term as mayor. Also, the issue of filing suit against the insurance companies, we looked at that. And because of the way the Supreme Court and the Bush and Reagan appointees have interpreted the law, it is more difficult to do that now than it ever was. However, there are some areas of insurance that we could challenge and that are winnable. One of those is there's a provision of the law that allows insurance companies, auto insurance companies, to what they call coordinate benefits. That means that they make your medical insurance pay for the medical bills in the event of an accident, as opposed to what it used to be, which is the insurance company that insures your automobile would pay for it. Well, in order to get that coordination of benefits provision, the insurance company is then supposed to lower your rates because most of the cost is medical insurance. They're not doing it. So what that means is that that's a place where you can challenge something that the company's doing and get the rates lowered. And we did a lot of research and found several things like that that we could challenge, and we will do that. As mayor of the city of Detroit, I will not allow the residents of this city to be redlined. Not if I can change it, and I think I can.